Hello and welcome to my channel. For today's art journal spread, I was in the mood to use some soft pastel colors. I love this paper pad set from Stamperia. The colors in them were perfect for what I had in mind. I started by going through the paper pad and picking out the pages that I wanted to use. A couple of the pages have images on them that I fussy cut out with some scissors. This will be used as focal points later on. Ripping up and gluing down random papers is a great way to start an art journal page. I didn't glue them anywhere specifically, and I had no thought process yet on what I was going to do. Some of this will get covered up, but that's totally okay. Think of it as a warm-up. I chose music sheets and dictionary pages. These are two great types of papers that will look amazing when they pop through the art mediums applied on top. Collage paper or tissue is another great product to glue down. I generally add these on top of the first layer of paper since they are usually transparent. This allows the writing or patterns underneath to show through a bit. With the other two Stamperia papers I chose earlier, I decided to rip them up to incorporate them into the background collage, with the exception of that pretty blue script sheet that I decided to add as another focal point. With the background collage layer complete, I start to apply some white gesso. There's two reasons why I'm doing this. One, to push back some of the papers in the background. Pushing back means to soften or fade the look of something. Two, to create an open space of white. It can be just in a corner, in the center, or in this case, a diagonal line going across the two pages that will divide the two areas where I think my focal points will be. I know it is strange to put down beautiful papers only to cover some of them up, but this is all part of the process of building up those journal layers. This is where I start to create a blank space going diagonal across the pages. I applied the white gesso heavily in the center and feathered it outward to create a soft transition. One final layer over the collage is clear gesso. I use this to ensure all of the papers are sealed and ready to receive wet mediums applied on top. A great way to add texture to an art journal page is texture or modeling paste. There are many different ones to choose from, like crackle, gloss, transparent, or in this case, opaque matte. Texture paste is a perfect medium to apply through stencils. Here I am focusing on applying the paste to the areas my paper focal point elements will be. This texture will show coming out from underneath the papers, so it's good to have a rough idea of where they will go beforehand. I have many videos using different texture pastes and different ways of using them if you're interested in seeing more. Once the texture paste is dry, let's do something to bring out the textured stencil design. I am using distress oxide sprays, which are my most loved art medium. You can either spray them or apply them using a paintbrush. They have a wonderful matte chalky look to them. They are also water reactive, so they create really interesting effects. I am applying them over the stenciled areas and slightly onto the pattern papers to blend everything together. I am also avoiding the center diagonal blank space as much as possible. Spraying a bit of water down on the pages first, then applying the ink with a brush will make the application easier. If you want to use a couple colors like I am doing, make sure to choose colors that will mix well together, otherwise you may end up with a color you don't like or even turn brown. Color wheels or even just experimenting mixing colors ahead of time is something I highly recommend doing. This is a brown toned ink that has a brass colored mica in it. Adding just a bit of this darker color to some of the areas of the stenciled areas will bring out the design even more, as well as add some sparkle due to the mica. Add some dabs here and there, spray with water, and move the journal around to get the ink to flow through the texture paste. This is totally optional, but I add some dark brown ink to the edges of the fussy cut images. This will help them to stand out from the background since all the colors are very similar. Depending on the ink color you choose can also add a vintage or aged look to the paper. I am creating an art journal page that has a lot of dimensional textures on it. I glue down the papers with a combination of a glue stick and a strong liquid glue. The glue stick is great because it will ensure the edges of the papers are glued down and it's less messy than liquid glue, which can squish out from under. The liquid glue is needed to ensure the papers stick to the textures. I apply the glue stick first, then add a bit of the liquid glue to only the center, keeping away from the edges. I am adding a bit of stamping to the white area to look like it was coming out from the focal areas. I stay within the same colors already used on the spread. Paper towel is used to cover the areas I don't want stamped. I didn't feel like the focal points stood out enough, so I used some more of the brown toned ink with brass mica to apply around them. This will create the illusion of a shadow. I applied the ink straight from the bottle and then take some water to blend it out with a paintbrush. The final step of the art journal page is some splatters and a quote. I continue to use the same brown sparkly ink to create splatters. The quote is a sticker set from Tim Holtz. These stickers are the perfect size for art journaling and are in both white and black. Then a simple outline with a black fine liner around the quote and we are done. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Here are some close-up photos of the finished spread.